welcome back to Vision Within Part 2. I'm Lisa.
I'm Laurie.
I'm Loretta.
And I'm Katrina.
And we're going to continue discussing awakening consciousness. And we're going to hear from Laurie and Loretta this time. So with that, Loretta?
Oh, shall I start?
Sure.
Okay, great. And in the last episode, we listened to, your story as well as your story. And I think it's really very nice to see how we've got different examples of, how people awaken or feel like they're awakened. For me, I think that I have always known this as a child. I remember even when I was really, really little girl, I always felt like I didn't belong here, that this really wasn't my home, right? I've always felt like, I don't know, just really strange, like I never fit in. I always knew that there was something bigger than myself. I always felt this compelling urge that I needed to find something and just not knowing what it is, right? So, even when I was a child, seeing people, watching adults, the things that they would say, the things that they would do, I actually felt even then that, that they just didn't get it, right? And I would
didn't get it how?
Just the love and the way that other people were being treated, or the way that their outlook on things, right? Like everything was so final. And I remember thinking to myself even then, it's so simple. Can't you see it in front of you, right? And then as I got older, of course, we go through school, and I kind of stuck to like a smaller circle of friends, people that, I could really relate to a little bit better, people who kind of understood me, I understood them, and I'm still like that today, obviously. And then, of course, mainstream, you grow up, you go to college, you go to work. I've been married twice, I have 2 beautiful daughters, so I've really tried to keep a foot in the mainstream, but there was still a part of me that knew that I wasn't, not that I wasn't on the right path, because I felt that I had been on the right path, but I was trying to ignore this feeling inside, right? Whenever I would go to bookstores, I would always really gravitate toward books on like psychic development, energy, what we deem now as like the new age stuff. I was always, picking up a book and looking at it and saying, oh, wow, this looks really interesting, buying it and then putting it away on the shelf, right? I never would read it then. So then about 2 years ago, I had a catalyst also too, where I was divorced for the second time, and I sent my youngest daughter off to college. So I was for the first time completely alone. And I don't mean alone as far as that's being a bad thing, right? But I mean alone as far as there was now no other external interference, no other external noise, no other external excuses for me to focus on something other than myself, right? I've noticed that my, psychic awareness is a bit, it's increasing at a steady rate. And then all of a sudden I've noticed that I've surrounded myself with all these books. I mean, over the last 15, 20 years, and wherever I've moved, I've taken all these books with me. And I finally have started reading them, but it's almost like that even then I knew that these were topics that I should be looking into or exploring.
Preparing for?
Yes, exactly, preparing for, and just never taken the time to do it. And then, of course, like I said, now just being alone, and not in a bad way, just, having the alone time to do more thorough meditations, to actually do more reflections, to actually start learning the things that I want to learn. And then, of course, enlarging my tribe. I met Laurie first, and then you, Kat, and then Lisa. I think that it's almost like these doors now have been opened since I can focus on things more complete. And so I'm getting all these opportunities that are coming my way. And, things are just feeling more, I'm just feeling more in tune with my own energy, right? And, no longer wanting to put that on on the back burner. I still feel. I'm sorry, you had a question?
No, I was going to ask you a question. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I knew you were on a groove there. I just wondered when you say
On a groove.
Groove.
So when you talk about you kind of connected more, understood more about your psychic gift.
Yeah.
Is there anything that stands out to you in particular where you realized, oh my gosh, this is what this is? Maybe, I don't know if you realized it after the fact, if you realized it during the experience. I know you said you read
Because
a
I
lot.
remember you reaching out to me
Yes.
and saying, I don't know if I'm going crazy.
Right. Right. Well, what happens is, and now I can recognize it, but it would be where, literally my forehead would itch. I would get this itch. It was a physical itch in the forehead. And then a picture would pop into my head, and then it would happen literally like 5 or 10 minutes later. A very simple example would be I would be driving down the road, and I would, get the itchy forehead, and then this I know it sounds weird.
Nice
It's
that you
like
get a
I
pre-warning.
mean,
Yeah,
seriously,
right?
you do.
Like early morning
You do.
over.
Yeah. I would get this itchy forehead, and then a very clear picture of a deer would come into my head.
Oh,
And then
wow.
maybe literally like a quarter mile down the road, I crossed over the railroad tracks. You look left, you look right. When I looked left, there was a doe standing on the tracks of the thing.
Oh,
so
wow.
it's that kind
Wow.
of very simplistic. It's not really huge earth shattering
Right.
or anything, but it's these little, it's almost like I can see further
Right.
with my third eye open, right? I
Right.
can see what's coming
Right.
down the road, so to speak.
Right.
So it's those type of experiences.
Right.
I know you said it was, I heard you say that, it's really simple. It's not anything big. I think it is big because I feel like what's landing for me right now is that you're being given confirmation and affirmation
Yeah.
of a gift.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how that's delivered to you as long as it's in a way that you recognize.
Mm-hmm. But is it a gift or is it an aptitude? And that's the thing we have to start looking at maybe, because are
interesting
we
question.
really
Yeah.
given gifts, or is this our aptitude that's always been dormant
Oh,
inside of us?
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Right.
That
Yeah.
because if somebody is really good in math, that's not a gift, that's an aptitude, right?
That's true.
So I know you're really good with your herbs and your herbal stuff. To me, that's an aptitude, right?
I would agree.
Yeah. So I think we
Yeah,
need
that's
to
a
start
great-
looking at it like that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think it takes, though, the right catalyst to
Yes.
bring that out and to help
Yes.
us understand.
Oh, yeah.
I can tell you that I was never great in science, and I started working with essential oils and the chemistry and constituents of essential oils, and all of a sudden it made sense.
Yeah.
It's like it fell into place in a way that resonated so strongly with me.
Yep.
It was really incredible. Maybe
Yeah,
that's the
it's
same
an
thing that happened
aptitude,
for
yeah.
you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if we all, gift or aptitude, for me, it's kind of the same. If we all discover our gifts or our aptitudes, this world would be totally abundant if we shared
Oh
them
my
with
gosh,
ourselves
Right.
first,
Yeah.
and then we can share them with others. I like
Yeah.
to say,
Right.
if I like to bake cakes, I'll bake
Yeah.
it. I must do that for myself first.
Right.
And then if someone comes over and enjoys it as well, then
Right.
that's icing on the cake.
There you
Yes,
go.
there you go. Exactly.
Yeah, I love
exactly.
that analogy.
So what about you, Laurie?
Well, interesting. I think mine, I have to say, if I look back over my entire life, my signs of awakening were what a lot of people would think were like normal, like anxiety, depression, feeling like, wait, I've gotten past this point, why am I revisiting it again? And suddenly, I'm acting like I'm, not multiple personalities, but I've come back around, and I keep thinking, gosh, haven't I gone past this? And then I had a really pivotal experience happen to me. I, like you, Kat, grew up in the Catholic Church, and felt very confined in a box. And I clearly remember being young. This is our vision cat.
Kira.
Kira.
There. I remember sitting in Mass, and this was in the day when they still said it in Latin, and we had to wear a little doily kind of thing on our head. And
you remember those two?
yes,
Yeah.
Lord help me.
yes.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting
did
in
that
church,
too.
looking around in wonder and thinking, how do they keep it all in here? Like, I thought it was so weird that we had a roof, that the roof needed to be gone.
Yeah.
I mean, so clearly I thought that. But then about 2.5 years ago, I had stumbled on this book, Conversations with God. And that to me, it opened a door that I couldn't ever go back. It just began this dialogue that started me questioning. And I started asking these open-ended questions, and then I'd kind of wait thinking, oh, I'm going to get an immediate answer, and nothing would come. It'd be like, crickets here, And then I finally asked one, I thought, let me get more specific and kind of hone this down. So I said, what would my purpose look like, if I even knew what that was? And it was literally just a few days after that my boyfriend and I were in Des Moines, Iowa, and we had gone to a state fair. And we had gotten up early that morning and walked to a Starbucks, and we were just sitting there, and this woman came in a raincoat, and it was like I could not take my eyes off of her. I was like, that is the cutest raincoat. Wow, is that cute? I need to tell her, that's just adorable. And I heard myself talking, and I thought, I sound nuts. But I couldn't stop. I could not stop the talking. And finally, and Mark's on his phone, he's not even paying attention, and finally I just got up, and he's kind of like, what's going on? And I said, excuse me, but I gotta tell you, your raincoat is adorable. And she turned around, and I was like, oh my gosh, and your outfit's cute, your hair's cute, you just got it all going on, And she was like, oh, thank you, haha. And she said, you must be the one that I came in here to see.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I mean, nothing irregular has happened in my life before this point, And I kind of got chills, and I said, what do you mean? And she said, you see, I gave up coffee about 4 months ago, and I've been sitting out in the parking lot for about 45 minutes, but I kept hearing that there was someone I needed to come in and meet.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
This is really great.
Yeah, I'm getting chills.
Talk about
two
synchronicity.
co-creators.
I know, right. So I said, well, you should definitely join us, and maybe if you just start talking, we'll figure out what this is about. Right. Well, she had just come back from Rhinebeck, New York at the Omega Institute, and had a experience with Dr. Brian Weiss in past life hypnosis. And as she's talking, the hairs are standing up on my arm, and I'm starting to feel almost like there's something circling us. And then I heard a little girl giggle. And I mean, keep in mind, nothing out of the ordinary has ever happened in my life before this point. So I'm stunned.
You've been a lucky girl then.
Stunned. Like I don't even know what this is. So I ended up going, the whole weekend ended up being pretty surreal, and I had an experience with her, and she kind of practiced on me. Well, when I came back to Indianapolis, I thought, well, this is some kind of answer. I'm supposed to look into hypnosis for some reason. And so I did. And, long story short, I ended up opening a practice, and the synchronicities began. Mm-hmm. It was like I opened a door, and it all started coming in.
And you're so gifted at hypnotism.
Oh,
absolutely.
But it just, everyone who was showing up to me, they were all saying, what's my purpose? It just seems like there should be something more than this. And they were coming in with either, anxiety or depression or addictions to, really, it's all the story. Right. Where there's got to be more to this story than this, and I just kept looking and thinking, wow, I just felt so honored that I was really healing myself, and they just were present.
That's the way I look at it.
This is great.
Yeah. They were showing up to facilitate your own healing.
Yes.
I was baking the cake, and they're just eating the icing.
Yes.
Or whatever.
Yeah. But I think that now, as I have moved so quickly and rapidly through this, when I know that another layer is opening,
it will feel like my skin is too tight, that I'm unwinding, I'm coming unglued.
You need
Anxiety.
another layer.
Another shift? You mean?
How I look at it as is I'm cleaning house.
Okay.
To me, it appeared like, maybe because of my Catholic upbringing, but it appeared like a church. And it was this little white chapel on the side of a road, and I've been sweeping it. And sometimes I'll just get into a corner and I'll be just in a euphoric place for a while, and then I wake up one day and I am really dark and sad.
You know, I think I go through something similar too. I think that from a phase perspective, and we talked about these phases earlier, and maybe that's part of this whole spiritual growth, right?
Yeah.
And when you reach a certain plateau,
Yes.
it's almost like
Right.
you've got to push through, you have
Yes.
to birth yourself through
Yes.
to the next
Right.
level.
Yes.
And that's not always a very pleasant experience.
Oh,
you know,
right.
birthing
No,
to.
you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After 3 kids,
Yeah, exactly.
childbirth's not easy.
Right. No, seriously, but you
Yeah.
mentioned
It is
the darkness.
very
I mean, it's,
uncomfortable. But it's in the discomfort where the growth is.
Yeah.
You know, if we always stayed in our comfort zone, there'd never be growth.
Now, do you ever
Yeah.
feel
Yeah, that's
like you
true.
wander around, I mean, you know, in your head,
Uh-huh.
kind of like not knowing what your next move needs to be? It's almost like
Yes.
an anxiety,
Yes.
you know, like lost feeling.
And
So, you know, I get
so
that.
what really helps me is, you know, some of the different people, again, synchronistically that we're drawn to. Mike Dooley is one of them. I
Yeah, I
love
like
him
his
and
stuff
Greg
too.
Me
Moody
too.
and all
Yeah.
of these guys. And they say just go with the feelings. So it's like, I know I must have joy. I must have happiness, adventure, love, connectedness, spirituality.
Right.
So I write down the feelings that I must have.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I just hold that. So oddly, maybe it's not oddly enough anymore, but the things that synchronistically appear are never like I think that they will look. Never. They have never looked that way, and I have had to trust
Yep.
that it was okay. Because I'm following a crazy circuitous path and just really gaining speed as I go. But that circuitous path, you know, Wayne Dyer again, the road less traveled. That is where all the huge growth is. You know, but of course people are going to criticize and, you know, you're all over the place. I've had that my whole life.
Sure.
Like you're singing
Sure.
the choir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but it's, once we can love the fact that it's okay, you know.
And trust is a huge part
Trust
of that.
is
Of
huge.
even trusting ourselves and trusting the messages that we receive. And
Right.
Yeah, trust ourselves is
Yeah.
huge. And allowing the story to unfold and not being attached to the outcome, whether
Yes.
the
Yes.
outcome is joyous that we want or we think it's going to be negative.
Right.
I have found the more I can detach from any outcome
Right.
and just allow the story to unfold, that's when I can receive intuitive messages
Oh,
for,
yeah.
for inspired action.
And for me, that was
Yeah.
terrifying because how it came to me was I would have clients that might come for a particular thing.
Uh-huh.
And I would just let the words that started flowing through me come out, and I would think at the end, I didn't even talk about what they came to me for.
Right.
You know, and they would say, oh my gosh, I had this big breakthrough.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, wow, that's so great, you know? But I really learned to let go pretty quickly.
And listen to
And
your
listen,
inner.
and listen,
inner intuitive
and just
messages,
let go.
yeah.
And I thought, you know, if
Yeah.
I get to the point
Surrender.
where this,
Yeah,
yes,
Another
surrender.
word that we like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if I ever get to the point where that doesn't work, then I guess I start asking different questions or
Yeah.
shift something around. But
Sure.
so
Yeah.
far,
You know, what I love about that is I love the movie Under the Tuscan Sun.
yes,
Oh, I do,
just watched
yeah.
it again.
I did
Oh,
too.
My
Yeah,
gosh,
I'm like,
it
I
cracks
just
me
saw
up.
that
Yeah.
thing.
What is it that
You
makes
know?
us want to watch this recently?
Oh, I know.
What I
all
love
of us.
about it is, and what landed for me, probably the first time I watched it, not probably, it definitely
Yes.
landed with me the first time I watched it, was that, you know, everything she wished for her life
Yes.
came true. It just didn't come true in the way she thought.
Right.
And so what I love about what you said, Laurie, is that everything looks different
Yeah.
than maybe what you planned, but the overarching themes of joy and
Yeah.
love and
Yeah.
friendship,
It's
the
true.
connectedness,
Yeah.
and, you know, being able to be of service to others, all that is still where you are,
Right.
regardless of if it happened exactly the way you
Right.
planned it.
Right.
And that I just learned so much from you in that because, honey, I can hold on to a plan and put on some tunnel glasses
Yeah.
like there
Yeah.
is no tomorrow. And so part of my path is learning to let go, and so you're an inspiration to me in that regard every day, truly.
You know, when you said plan, I have learned to let go of the plan because I have this thing about red stoplights and green stoplights. And, I mean, it just kind of came a few years ago, and I realized if it's all green lights, then I must be doing what feels really good. It's kind of a confirmation. I mean, it's even like at home. If I'm looking for a certain ingredient to put in something and I can't find it, like, oh, that's a stoplight, red stoplight, that's another red stoplight. Okay, I must not need to put that in. I must not want to put that ingredient, or maybe I shouldn't put that ingredient in.
Right.
So it's just little things like that or big things. Does that resonate?
Recently, this has been huge for me because we talked about this with movies
Yeah.
that might trigger something in us or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes.
Usually within 24 hours now. So to use your analogy of the cake, you know, you don't have something. So what if you substituted something else and it was better than you ever would have thought?
Right.
Right.
I see another
So-
ingredient.
Right. So
Yeah.
I have just found that when I get a red stoplight on something, that gives me time to pause. And I really dig
Yeah.
in, what is this feeling?
Yeah.
And go into it. And usually there is such a massive awareness that is so loving and so intense that I just weep and weep through it. So there's some beauty in the stoplights to me, you know, because you can really slow it down. And if you think of it like this, you've got a balloon,
Yeah.
and the balloon keeps going up and up and up. It gets thin and long, you know, because it's trying to connect to the earth.
Right.
But if you actually anchor it down, then the top comes down, which might not feel comfortable, but it has a chance to really grow this way.
Yeah.
And so then when it goes again, you just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You know, so we do sometimes have to do that compression, which feels hugely uncomfortable, you know, but it's
And do you think that like part of your awakening is just to learn how to manage those type of
Yes.
situations or those kind of
Gracefully.
manifestations?
Gracefully.
Yes, okay.
Yes, and I can give you a real quick thing. I was just at my daughter's wedding, and the evening before, I noticed we were having this, when I was sitting on the couch away from everybody, it was very easy to have everybody's stories going on and just listening, and it was so fun. And I had a baby bouncing, so I was distracted. When we came to the table, the energy got very loving and in, and I wanted to engage in it more, and I found myself talking more than they did. And that night, I went back to where I was staying and had profound sadness because I thought I didn't ask about my son's new house. I didn't ask about this. And so the next day when we had time together, my heart was so open, and I really wanted to talk less and listen more.
So awesome.
And what I gained, I learned more about my kids and my ex-husband in 3 hours
Wow.
than I may have their whole lives.
Oh,
It's very powerful.
amazing.
Yeah.
So, you know, when we get those setbacks like that, it can
Well, that was
really
an
hurt.
intuitive message for inspired action,
Right.
wasn't it?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, listen more. Yeah.
And your inspired
beautiful.
action was that you carried it out the next day.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of the red light, green light of the spiritual learning. I mean, I laughingly say, you know, that game we played as kids where
Yeah.
somebody's
I love
turning
that.
around and you gotta run as fast as you can when they're not looking, then they look
Yeah.
and you freeze.
Yeah.
I sort of feel like that sometimes.
I love
I'm like,
that.
all right, I want growth, I want growth, I want
put
growth.
that.
And then I'm like, growing, and I'm like, cuts.
Yeah.
Get frozen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it gets uncomfortable. But
Yeah.
But
I
it
think
does,
that's part of the
and
journey.
you know, it's okay to. We're not regressing when
No.
after we hit, you know, after we enjoy that plateau, and then all of a
Right.
sudden to get further along in a higher frequency, we have to go through a little bit more gunk to let go. We have to feel
Yeah,
the
that's
gunk,
it is. It's
Right.
gunk.
in order to let it go. That's
Right.
the key. And the
Right.
gunk doesn't feel very
No.
good, but we
No.
have to find it. Like let's think of us having a big backpack and we're going up a hill. And I had that big anger rock that I let go that I talked about in episode 1. And once I let go of that huge boulder, I first had to, my whole marriage and divorce proceeding allowed me to find it. I didn't even know it was back there.
Yeah.
And so that story, those stories triggered it. I unzipped it, found it, let it go, and then I could climb up the hill a little bit further where some more fun stories were.
Right.
And then you plateau and you just
Yeah.
the same thing over. I don't think there's an ending to this. Do
No,
you?
I don't think there is any.
I think it's
No.
interesting perspective, and,
Yeah.
and I think that's the way it's supposed to be. I think it's.
Right.
I feel like that's the way it is with our soul evolution. I feel like
Yeah.
that's the way it is in the lives we choose to lead here now. So it's all learning.
It is.
Awesome.
So I think we're going to conclude. Does anyone have anything else to say?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, well, I hope that you enjoyed this segment of the Vision Within. And we hope also that you have something to think about today, tonight, tomorrow, about allowing, letting go, surrendering. We're not crazy, you're not crazy. All of that. And until next time, I'm Lisa.
I'm Laurie.
I'm Loretta.
And I'm Katrina.
And please remember to interact with us on Rising Tides Global, our Facebook page. We want to hear from you.
Yes.
We want to get good feedback because what you say really matters to us, and we want to give you the information you're looking for.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.